this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill
Wait
no
a
one.
second.
No.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. Septum Sin versus the world. 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 I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching Septum Sen vs. the World. I'm Septum Sen. This is Kotobuki Jake.
Hey?
And we're here to move forward quickly because this is going to be a long video.
But a fun one.
We have painstakingly watched a lot of films in 2019, and we're ranking them. We both watched 76 films.
Strangely enough.
Yeah, so I managed to get two of them knocked out today.
I did not, because I was at work. And unlike him, I can't watch movies at work.
So this was a kind of cool thing that got to happen. But because there's a couple of rules to this. Mainly it's 2019 release, and for me anyway. And to me it's a personal list.
I'd say we should go ahead and say what our specific guidelines were.
Yeah,
like if,
because we have some differing guidelines.
Slightly.
I'm sure. So I'll go first, and you can go second on that, and then I'll go ahead and talk. Before we put the universal guidelines are this: 2019 film. The other thing about it is that we're going to allow ourselves to expound on the bottom 3 and the top 10. No more than a line about anything else, because otherwise we'll be here for 4 hours.
right. Although, if you, and after we're done with this, and you're done with this, if you like to sound off in the comments about you would like to hear more about a particular film, or
Of course.
take us to task for our choices, feel free.
Yes. So my ratings are pretty simple. 2019 release. If it qualified for Oscars in 2019 is the only time I'll go back previous for it. But otherwise I don't really follow Oscar rules, because if I'm following Oscar rules, there's a lot of films that I feel would get sorely left out. At least 1 or 2 in the top 10 even. And that pisses me off. So I'm not going to let that go, because personally made films, shot on video films, these are films that should get their day. And that's why it's going to be there. That's all I've got really for mine. That's my only guidelines. Oh, and how I'm ranking them, it is my personal feelings of it, not how I felt it did to somebody else. It's just to me.
Well, and I will go ahead and say I used basically my Oscar list. So, when we do our revisitation of 2019 in, I don't know, a couple of years or whatever, I want to do this idea of a top 10 for each year, starting with 2010 and moving forward. Maybe do that every 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And the idea is this way we can go back and it will be very much more personalized. It's marinated in our brain and we know what we like. The first go-through for me is always very Oscar-oriented, and I really don't think any one of these films I've seen twice. I don't think there's any of them. So it's really hard for me to go back and do a personal ranking at this point. The other thing as far as guidelines, I said strict 2019 releases, but following the Oscar rules of LA presentation. Certain films got robbed of that presentation that were otherwise theatrically eligible films, or should have been at any rate. If I did have any independent films, I would include them as year they first made a festival debut or their home video release, because they're not going to get that Oscar presentation. I do have one straight-to-video film on my list. If it made a straight-to-video bow this year, it counts. If it went straight to streaming this year, but it was presented as a movie and not as a television event, it counts, basically. So that's my thought for that. I do have at least one that was not submitted for Oscar consideration, but had a full theatrical release during 2019 Fathom events, but still a theatrical release. And another word is with anthology films. Anthology films run the gamut from it really is one film with several stories going on all at once. We have one film that he actually just, strangely enough, picked the right number on my list without knowing, that we saw together in theaters that fits that description. It's an anthology film, but it's one film.
Yeah.
But there was an anthology film that I saw that was on the other end of the spectrum, which was 3 independent, unrelated films by different directors with a sort of film as a through line to connect them. And sometimes you have anthologies that don't even have that, and they're all unrelated films. And that one for my Oscar list, I counted as 3 separate short films, but I went ahead and gave it a tentative rating to put it on the overall list as a feature. So, anyway, so that's the guidelines.
Well, why don't you kick us off?
Kick us off.
Actually, I'll tell you what. Why don't we do this the fair way?
The fairway.
Pick an even or an odd, and whichever one you pick, if it lands on it, well, whoever picks the right one, you go first. So, odd or even?
Well, we're both odd. I'll go even.
All right. It is odd, so I go first.
Okay.
All right. I figured it's a fair way.
Oh, with
to
a
do
real
it.
winner, too, from what I hear.
So, my bottom 3, of course, this one is on the line because it could be considered a TV event movie or straight to video. It kind of came out both on the same time. And that is Tremors Part 6. What can one say about a series that has overstayed its welcome? And one of those series I can definitely say is Tremors.
That graboid done turned.
I really liked the first 4 films, and the 5th film was okay. And oddly enough, there are no films on this list that I absolutely despise. Every single one of them has a point to them. Except for Tremors. Tremors is the only one that I looked at and I'm like, this is boring. It has no intrinsic value. I don't want to watch it again. I have no desire to see it again. I will eventually watch it again. But not for a while. It's boring. Every other one has some excitement and humor. This one was kind of humorless and boring. I am sad. Bad Tremors. Ice Tremors, matter of fact. There's a special breed of Tremors.
That makes me sad,
Ice
too.
Tremors.
Okay. So, my next one also dealt with creatures that people fear. But this was actually a documentary. And it's kind of sad. I actually saw an unusually large number of documentaries this year. And I meant to watch some more this week, and I didn't get to them. And it's sad that my bottom 3 included 2 documentaries, both of which had potential. And one thing that's true of all 3 of my bottom 3 is that they had potential. So this one is called Saving Jaws. And it's about a very important subject, which is the plight of sharks. It is about learning to appreciate and understand sharks. It gets into the whole idea of where the consumption of shark fin soup is still a major killer of sharks. It gets into the whole idea of people who actually swim with sharks for recreation. It gets into a whole bunch of stuff. The problem is, and I will say it's gorgeous. The people who made the film had access to very impressive cameras and a very impressive travel budget. They go to all kinds of picturesque locales. There's a lot of absolutely stunning camera work in this film, and it's great. The problem is, it feels very superficial. It feels like some rich kids got together and made a college project. And a film and a subject like this deserves something more. It's not bad. It's entertaining, it's informative, it's gorgeous, but it could and should have been so much more. And on a purely technical level, it is the weakest film I've seen this year.
You are the weakest link.
Yes.
Goodbye. Well, my 75th rank film was one I saw today, which is Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back.
Save the best for last, huh?
I saw it on a whim because Netflix was like, this is our number 4 film. I'm just like, oh.
Wow.
It's essentially, it's a remake of the Pokemon movie, which introduced Mewtwo. Mewtwo is this genetically created Pokemon. He's based off of a rare Pokemon called Mew, and they made this genetically superior one who decides, well, fuck you all. I'm going to kill everybody. And goes off in some weird mad dash. Now, it actually is not a bad plot for a movie overall. The animation is okay. And it's definitely a good play up to Pokemon fans. But I have issues with it. One, I'm not a Pokemon fan. I'll admit. I only saw it because it was number 4 ranked on Netflix.
Right.
So I did not have the nostalgia factor for Pokemon that everybody else has. 2, it's definitely not to me. This plays to kids. This clearly plays to kids and does not have a lot of value for adults. So I think this is why I say it's not one I hate, because again, I'm not the intended audience. But the thing that bothers me about this, why it's definitely at 75, is the message. They get to this message at the end that, no, you shouldn't have Pokemon fighting each other because they're living beings. Meanwhile, it's not like an insightful message saying, that what they're doing, which is essentially cockfighting or dogfighting in a world. It's not that message that's bad. It's just it's bad only in that one case. And I'm like, this movie has zero insight. I don't even know how they came to that. It's Pokemon fighting each other. It's what the whole frickin' series is around. It's frustrating, and still, it's okay.
Okay. So my number 75 film is a film that a lot of people actually loved, and a few people even said was one of the best films of the year. But I, too, took issue with what seemed to be the messages of the film. And this film most assuredly is not for kids. You show your kid this movie, you are a bad parent. I'm sorry, you are a bad parent. And I'm talking, of course, about the movie starring Matthew McConaughey as Moondog, a poet who lives a very hedonistic lifestyle in the Keys, and it's called The Beach Bum. A lot of people compared it to sort of him playing the dude, basically, and there's some similarities, but basically, you got this guy who is a willful nonconformist, no problem there.
Yeah.
But he is also willfully a leech on his rich wife, and he is not a very good father figure for his daughter, but he uses and abuses every drug out there. He's like the dude crossed with Hunter Thompson on a bad day, basically. And it's like, and he hangs out with this dude who's played by Snoop Dogg, And they've got cameos by Jimmy Buffett as himself. And I say again, the film should have had an Oscar nod for original song just so Buffett and Snoop Dogg could get a nod there. But the film seems to glorify this lifestyle. And I'm sorry, I just have issues with that. To me, it was one that I felt like the messaging in the film was all wrong. It's a well-made film. It is kind of a trippy hot mess, but that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
And the acting's great. McConaughey is great. Snoop Dogg does a fine job. It just bothered me. It's like you've said this many times, that when you have issues with the characters and the presentation, it's rare that does that to me with a movie, but this one did.
Yeah, sometimes it comes to that. So have you seen Surfer Dude?
I have not.
Okay, I was going to ask if it was anything like that, because Surfer Dude, he plays a guy who is just a kind of a beach bum who used to be a professional surfer, and I really enjoyed that one. It kind of has just a, kind of a meandering flow.
He's done that a few times. I like Fool's Gold.
God, what's the guy's name? The guy was in Cheers. He played the kind of. He was also in Zombieland and
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson does a good job in it.
Yeah.
It's like I say, it's a fun film. I enjoy it. So I wonder if it's anything like that. Well, in any case, 74. Don't Get Out. So, two directors said they would be willing to check this out, and this is the director of one of those. And I've got 3 of his films on my list, because he had 3 2019 releases. And this is the lowest down, and I'm kind of glad that I had 2 that were lower. If any of you watch the Anhedenia Project, you will get to see this and see my reasons in full force. It is not a terrible film, but I could not rank it higher than any of the others on my list. It's about this guy who's in this office, and the office is haunted for some reason, and they use effects, and I feel like it wasn't done as properly as it could. I feel like this could be redone and probably better than what it was. But still, again, I didn't hate it, I didn't dislike it, but I didn't really feel like it was like in the top.
Okay. So my next one is an odd piece. There were a lot of documentaries this year about famous people, and some of them were, obviously, but I mean, they had like their names in the title and that sort of thing, and some of them were truly excellent. But one that puzzled me, because it should have been so much more, was Aretha Franklin, Amazing Grace. I'm sorry, but the film to me was just a weak film. Basically, the way I understand it is back in the, I don't remember the date, but I think it was like the late 60s, early 70s maybe, where she made the Amazing Grace album, which is considered one of the gospel albums of all time. They apparently got, of all people, Sidney Pollack to come in and direct a documentary about the process, and she did an actual live performance / recording session, but for various reasons, faulty equipment, whatever, apparently the special fizzled and never happened. But they still had the footage, which they apparently sat on and sat on and sat on, and then conveniently, less than a year after her passing, this film comes out. And it makes me wonder if she had been suppressing it or not. But if so, that just makes it all the worse to me. The timing of it, it really is suspicious. But it's just a weak film. It features great music, don't get me wrong. Aretha Franklin was a once-in-a-century voice. She had talent to spare. And even though I don't really like her super long rendition of every word in Amazing Grace, I like the song to move a little quicker than that. There's great music in the film. There's great music. But it just feels like a slapdash. They threw this footage together and put it out there for everyone. And it should have been more. And a lot of people did rave about this as one of the documentaries of the year. I want to know what movie they were watching. I really do. Because I watched this with my mom. We were both bored by it. And we love her music. So it's like, I don't know. It just, whatever.
Well, now we go into overdrive. We're already 19 minutes in. We really need to start moving.
Okay.
So I'm going to lead us off. 73, Lion King.
Woohoo!
Didn't like it. Original was better. Beautiful animation, though.
Okay, 73, X-Men Dark Phoenix. What can we say about it other than it's better than X-Men 3 The Last Stand?
72, Doom Annihilation. There's a reason why it's only on Netflix. Also, slightly boring. Shouldn't be boring. It's Doom.
72, The Lion King. The first Oscar nominee on my list for visual effects. And was not better than its predecessor.
Okay, visual effects and nothing else. 71, Honeyland. One of my first contentious ones. Thought it was okay, but dragged.
Okay. 71, Crawl. Sorry, Dustin, it was not the best film of the year. But it was interesting, I'll give it that.
70, Automation. Actually had a good premise, fairly fun, just not above.
70, Pokemon Detective Pikachu. It was a lot of fun. Ryan Reynolds was great as Pikachu, but it really was aimed at a younger audience and could have been better.
69, In the Tall Grass. Good horror attempt by Stephen King, tad confusing, story dragged a tad bit.
Okay, 69, Breakthrough, another Oscar nominee. Amazingly, one of the best Praise Jesus movies I've ever seen. Featured some excellent music and quite inspiring tearjerker, but definitely a Praise Jesus movie.
68, Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Pretty much what he said, plus, much like with Pokemon Mewtwo, not aimed at me.
So, 68, Pet Cemetery. I had never read the book or seen the original, so I really didn't know what I was getting into. Creepy as hell. It actually was quite good. It made me want to see the original. Could have been better, though.
67, Ni no Kuni. Need to finish that game. Pretty fun in the world. Kind of a rush job. Okay film.
67, Dumbo, one of Disney's decent live-action adaptations. They took a film that had no business being remade, and Tim Burton made it pretty good.
66, Rocko's Modern Life, Static Cling. This was sort of a reboot episode, and that's why it's 66, because it's an episode, not really a movie, in my opinion.
Okay, and yet you counted it. 66, Glass. M. Night Shyamalan tying together Unbreakable and Split. Much better pacing than either of its predecessors.
That's the same much.
Much less of a twist at the end, which is disappointing for some. And the biggest disappointment for me was that Anya Taylor-Joy's Casey seems to have a raging case of Stockholm Syndrome.
65, Secret Life of Pets 2. Decent Secret Life of Pets movie, but below the ranking of most other animated films.
Okay. 65, The Souvenir. Autobiographical pick by Joanna Hogg featuring Tilda Swinton's daughter, co-featuring Tilda Swinton. Hogg is an old friend of Swinton's. This is about a toxic toxic relationship from Hogg's youth, and everyone raved about the film. I found it tedious and dull.
64. Everybody Knows. Well acted, well written, should have been up for an Oscar, didn't like the film, hated most of the characters, hated the ending.
64. Greta. Weird little taut thriller with if I remember correctly, Isabel Huppert and Chloe Grace Moritz. A young lady finds a bag on the subway and returns it to its owner, only to find out there's some issues there, and it gets creepy and weird.
63, another Oscar nominee and winner, Marriage Story.
Oh.
Story about a divorce. Depressing. Angry. Makes you upset. Makes you hate life. Don't like this movie. Well acted, though.
63, almost the opposite. Very broadly overacted movie that's highly enjoyable. Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Very, very, very wonderful fan service to fans of the Askewniverse. The acting is way over the top. You can't take the movie but so seriously. But if you enjoy the Askewniverse, it's worth watching.
62, Glass. Enjoyable film. Kind of ties in those three. And much better than what I thought it was going to be. That's all I really have to say on top of what you already said.
Okay. 62, MIB International. Brings back the wonderful team of Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. They're not as fun as they are as Thor and Valkyrie, mainly because Hemsworth plays a little bit of a jerk in this one. It's not as good as the old school Men in Black, but it's still a hella good time. If you enjoy Men in Black, you'll enjoy it.
Alright, and I lost my place. Alright, there we go. 61,
Yep.
Judy. Well-acted film. Oscar winner. It was a well-known fact. Very depressing. Buzzkill. Hard to watch. Probably won't watch again for a long time.
Damn it. Okay, I'll just go ahead and insert that I forgot to put Judy on my list. I don't know how, but everything he said more or less works.
Hey, I forgot to put the Jay and Silent Bob one on my list.
Really?
So,
Wow.
so I will have
So
to...
we're both at 77.
So we will insert them in a place of where they should be going.
Okay. I'll try to remember that. Okay, 61, Aladdin. My favorite of the three Disney remakes for the year. Featured a very solid new song from Jasmine. Naomi Scott overall was a wonderful Jasmine. Their depiction of Jafar kind of sucked, and they robbed him of his half a villain song. They should have at least given him that. And Will Smith was a pretty good genie.
Alright, number 60, I Lost My Body. Very well done animated film. Also Oscar nominee. I wasn't as impressed by the plot, but it was a well-written plot. Doesn't, of course, mean that I like the plot.
Okay. 60, Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Again, another Oscar nominee, a couple of them here. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate putting Star Wars anywhere below the top 40, but this was a weak-ass Star Wars film. I know it was supposed to be the epic culmination. It was a weak-ass ender.
I never saw it.
It had its moments. It was enjoyable. All the Star Wars films are at least enjoyable. That's it.
59, Midsommar. Enjoyable drug trip movie.
Wow.
LSD freakout.
Holy crap.
So, otherwise, that's about all I have to say about that.
Okay. 59, Best of Enemies. Taraji P. Henson plays an outspoken civil rights activist, and Sam Rockwell plays the local Klan head, and they're forced to work together in 1971 Durham, based on a true story. A little bit sappy, could have been done better, but it's still a damned inspiring story with some great acting.
Alright, 58, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Decent Tarantino love letter to Hollywood. Well acted, fairly well written, uneven. Not his best work.
58, John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum. I like the John Wick movies a lot more than I expected to, but not half as much as most people apparently do. They are pretty badass action films. That's
Yeah.
really it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't rate it but so high, but it definitely was an enjoyable ride.
57, Death Toilet number 2. Done by Anadina Pictures, and very well use of CG effects. I feel like it's taken Don't Get Out, did not use the effects as well, and Death Toilet number 2 mastered that. Very excellent for this particular year.
Okay. So, 57, Shazam.
Shazam! Shazam!
Shazam was a fun movie. It was one of DCEU's most fun movies yet. I really like Mark Strong as Dr. Sivana. He was an excellent choice as Sivana. It just, though, it was a good movie. It was not a great movie. It was a huge step up from Justice League and Batman v Superman. But, you know, it was so much more fun than either of those.
Number 56, X-Men Dark Phoenix. Actually, pretty decent for the X-Men movies. Much better than Last Stand. I was pleasantly surprised by it. And because of that, I gave it a higher rating.
Alright. Number 56, It Chapter 2. Excellent film. The first one was better, but still pretty good. I enjoyed it, and, yeah.
55, Child's Play. Mark Hamill plays a very creepy doll. You can hear more about this in our pickups. That's all I need to say about that.
55, this is that anthology film that I was telling you about that actually is a film, like one coherent piece. The Guillermo del Toro produced Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I enjoyed this one. It was very interesting. It had a couple moments that were cringeworthy, but it was quite well made and an interesting start to what appears to be a franchise. We'll find out.
Number 54, Us. This is, of course, the second Peele production following Get Out. Not to be confused with Don't Get Out. But Us, pretty much Twilight Zone of a film about doubles and their scary scissors.
Yes.
Pretty well done, kind of confusing, but overall okay.
Okay. Next up, talking about, I guess you could call this almost a Twilight Zone episode in a way. Oscar nominee for cinematography, The Lighthouse.
God.
Very dark, twisted, strange film. Interesting. I had trouble watching it, and I wouldn't really say I enjoyed it, but I definitely am glad I saw it. It was an experience.
You know what? This is the perfect time to add that one because I forgot it.
You forgot that one. Wow.
Yes, so, insert The Lighthouse. Also drug trip movie. That's all I gotta say about that.
Okay. Alright, and speaking of random insertions, I'm going to say this is where Judy should have been on my list. Roughly. And that's one of the things about first run picks. It's hard to give a really, truly accurate ranking. But I'd say this is appropriate spot for Judy. And like you said, kind of a hard film to watch, but pretty incredible acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, 53.
Yeah.
Crawl. Enjoyable movie about killer alligators in the middle of a hurricane. Stupid people doing stupid things to get killed by alligators in the middle of a hurricane.
That was probably my biggest issue with the film, was the stupidness of the people.
But that's what makes it fun. And that's why it's 53.
All right. 53, The Lego Movie 2, the second part. Should have been a winner for original song, damn it. But it was a very fun movie. It was a little weaker than the first one, but it was still good times. If you haven't tried the Lego movies, give them a look.
Number 52, Fire Fraud. One of the two documentaries about the Fire Festival. That's all I really have to say about that because they're hard to distinguish. They're basically right next to each other.
So, speaking of two things that are hard to distinguish right next to each other, number 52, Gemini Man. Meg Lee film directed by, produced by Jerry Bruckheimer and starring Will Smith. How's that for a grouping? Also featured a very badass Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Benedict Wong. The three of them, those two and Smith, make a great little team. It's actually a good movie that really got overlooked this year. But when it comes down to it, it's basically an actioner with an Ang Lee touch, basically.
51, Fire. Another Fire Festival documentary. Hulu and Netflix had dueling documentaries. They were both very good. To me, they were both on the same level. So therefore, they're right next to each other.
Okay. And I, too, have a documentary. Number 51, Honeyland. Made history as the first film up for foreign language feature and documentary feature at the same time. I was underwhelmed by it. Talking about stupid people doing stupid things. The guy that moved in next door decided to be a honey keeper. And that asshole that ruined everything for everyone. The film did kind of tick me off, but there were so many long moments that dragged and dragged and moved like honey that's been sitting and crystallizing for a while. But still worth a look.
Number 50 for Sama. Excellent documentary. Put you right in the war zone of Syria. My goodness. What a ride. Well worthy of its 50th spot. Just not as worthy as the other 49. Actually, other 50 because there's going to be Jay and Silent Bob reboot somewhere.
Did I?
Did you see it?
I might have forgotten that one.
Because I know you hadn't seen it by the Oscars.
I did see it. I'm going to have to think about how did I forget all of these? So anyway, number 50, probably because I was in a last minute rush to watch them all. Okay, and this one I saw yesterday morning. Number 15, the 50. Sorry.
I ain't done that far yet.
The Claire Denis film High Life, which featured Robert Pattinson and Julia Binoche, and was one of the films that's why the Cannes Festival blew up this year, because Denis was denied an invite to a major event, and people said that was sexism, and But High Life is about convicts on a space station rocketing away from the Earth and testing black holes and the ability to breed in space. It's a weird movie. Slow moving. Interesting, though, but weird.
49, Captain Marvel. Brie Larson's piece on superhero women, taking it to the masses. Pretty decent film. Okay for a Marvel film, but no more than okay.
Okay.
Exactly. Oh, has an excellent cat.
Oh, yes, the cat is awesome. 49, another Oscar nominee, winner, Rocket Man. Musical about the life and times of Elton John. Kick-ass soundtrack. Really kick-ass soundtrack. The film should have been up for actor for Taron Egerton. He nails the role of Elton John. Overall, though, the film... It didn't really land for me as a kick-ass film overall. It was one of those things that had some awesome parts. And I loved it, and I'm glad I saw it, and I'll watch it again, and I'll get it, but it ended up a little low on the list.
Number 48, Annabelle Comes Home. I am surprised it's this high on the list. It's about the creepy doll Annabelle and her terrible movies, but apparently she drags in the rest of the Conjuring universe for an actual fun and scary ride.
Okay. Number 48, a horror film that I'm shocked is higher on my list than it was on yours. Us. What he said.
Well, can't do better than that. I'll move on to 47. Shazam! I really don't have much more to say than what he said. Really fun film, but that's unfortunately all it was fun.
Right.
Still liked it better than Captain Marvel.
Right. And I'm very shocked that this one was higher on my list. Number 47, Midsummer. There were a couple scenes that I had tremendous difficulty with. There were some characters who I hated, although the one I really hated, I'm very happy to see what happened to that character. And I love the ending. Call me twisted and evil, but certain endings make me smile. And I love that idea that you told me.
Yeah, the meme. Number 46, John Wick Chapter 3. Enjoyable ride, action-filled, testosterone, and just in general, fairly fun action film. But as he said, nothing more than that.
All right, so number 46, Bombshell. Bombshell was an excellent film. Wonderful acting. The makeup, Oscar-winning makeup, excellent. But to me, the film came across as slightly too politicized to rank higher on the list. But for what it is, it's a damn good film.
45, Edge of Democracy. What? Talk about transition.
Right.
Documentary, Oscar nominated, about Brazil's system. Well done film. Just the material is presented as a bit dry and potentially politically biased, but still well done film.
All right, number 45, one of the biggest snubs of the Oscar race this year, Hustlers, which I agree, Jennifer Lopez should have been a nominee. Centers on a young exotic dancer played by Constance Wu and her mentor, who's played by Jennifer Lopez, who, in order to make ends meet during the recession, concoct an elaborate scam to hustle high rollers, if you will. And rockin' soundtrack, lots of very cute females, and just phenomenal acting all around, and the film should have gotten more buzz than it did.
44, Velvet Buzzsaw. I started watching this earlier in the year. Apparently I dropped off at the wrong time. Slow start, which is why it's here on the list, but once it gets going, it is one heck of a ride when it comes to horror about cursed paintings.
Oh, okay. Number 44, Alita Battle Angel, robbed of a visual effects nomination. This was a long-planned project for James Cameron that he put on the back burner because of his obsession with Avatar, and instead he gave it to Robert Rodriguez, who is a whiz at making great things look great on a budget. And the film should have been a big smash hit, but not enough people went to see it, and even though it needs a sequel, it might not get one.
Alright, number 43, The Report. Excellent film about doing reports about corruption through the torture done by the CIA. Was on the Oscars shortlist, but didn't unfortunately make the cut. Still, The Report is definitely on my report.
Alright, I still need to see it. Number 43, Spider-Man Far From Home. Excellent film, features a mysterious individual who calls himself Mysterio. Takes place in the fallout of Avengers Endgame and is an unusually somber Spider-Man film, but still pretty darn good. And features a wonderful cameo in its final moments that makes me very excited for the continuation of this franchise.
Number 42, Late Night. Devil Wears Prada, but with late night show. Essentially, that's all there has to it. Well done.
All right. Number 42, Jim Jarmusch's film The Dead Don't Die. A zombie, very, very, very dry zombie comedy featuring Bill Murray and Adam Driver as small-town cops in a town where people start rising from the graves and coming after more and more people features a who's who of supporting characters, including Tilda Swinton, Iggy Pop, Selena Gomez, all kinds of weird random people, and a wonderful original song called The Dead Don't Die by Sturgill Simpson, who it's a running gag throughout the film. The film is very dry and very meta, but if you're into that kind of humor, it's good times.
41, Spider-Man Far From Home. Matter of fact, before I get to that one, we'll insert Jay and Silent Bob, the reboot, because I think that Spider-Man is a little bit better than that.
Okay.
Love Letter to the Askewiverse.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty much the whole of it, and it's really good. You're good.
Okay. Good times. So I'm now at number 41.
Yep.
Captain Marvel. I thought it was an excellent film. Brie Larson was excellent as Marvel. Great effects. As he said, the cat is the star of the movie. Or what is it? Is it a Flurkin? Or
Flurkin.
Or whatever they call it, Flurkin?
41, Spider-Man Far From Home. Well done Spider-Man movie. Enjoyable, though not as good as Homecoming.
Okay. Number 40. This is my... wait.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
We switched because I added one.
Right. Right. So, number 40, I guess. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Because I'm not renumbering, so you may be throwing it off if you're renumbering.
No, I'm not renumbering.
Okay.
This was 41 previously.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
It delayed me by one.
My brain fried. Okay. So, my one straight-to-video one that I do have on the list, Batman Hush. Very serviceable adaptation of one of the best comic storylines out there. They made some changes that I kind of wonder about a couple of them, but at least one made some sense. But there are some changes from the original. But overall, excellent short film. Excellent addition to the DC animated universe. And that's all I'm going to say on that one.
Number 40, The Riverbed. The last of the Anhedenia films for the year. Fairly well done horror. Well written. Well acted. Pretty much a monologue of sorts. Had a part or two that I thought were more silly than horrific, but at the same time, impressed nevertheless.
Okay. Number 39, excellent documentary, Linda Ronstadt, The Sound of My Voice. I talked about this one before, but basically it's a documentary about Linda Ronstadt, her musical career through the years, her impact on music at large. And if you are not familiar with her music, you need to go get a CD and listen to it.
Number 39, It, Chapter 2. I really liked the first movie. This movie was also good, but the second half of the book was, well, it's technically they mixed them together. But the adult half of the story was never really as exciting as the child half of the story.
Make it sound like half of it was for kids.
You know, for kids.
Yeah, because it has balloons and clowns and kids. All right. So, 38, another documentary about a famous person, Toni Morrison, The Pieces I Am. The late, great Nobel laureate Toni Morrison filmed this documentary shortly before her death. And it's a very intriguing and informative film that was the other one robbed of an original song nomination this year.
Well, number 38, Brightburn. Well done horror movie about what if Superman was evil. Well done. Makes a good first scary movie.
Okay, number 37. Oh, wait. See? Yeah, you...
Yeah, 37.
Okay.
Because remember, I paused.
Right.
Yeah.
So number 37, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, the new film from Terry Gilliam.
Still need to see it.
Featured Adam Driver and Jonathan Pryce, and Pryce gave a phenomenal performance. Driver did an excellent job too, Stellan Skarsgård as well. Basically, you have a spoiled young director who, revisiting the Spanish hills where he got his start, he decides to visit the local town and finds that the man who had starred in his film has gone crazy and now believes himself to be Don Quixote. And weirdness ensues. Being a Terry Gilliam film, lots of weirdness ensues.
See Man of La Mancha for more details.
Yes.
37. How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. The conclusion to the How You Train Your Dragon trilogy. Pretty well done. Good wrap-up. Not as good as the other two, in my opinion, but still a fun ride.
Okay. Number 36. Avengers Endgame. Film which has the very, very, very dubious distinction of being the only film to ever be the highest grossing film on the planet and not win a single Oscar. That's sad. Endgame is kind of like Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. It is a fan service fest. A little bit more on the dramatic side, and definitely with better acting and effects. But
Yeah.
they get a little too fan servicey and end up with a gaping plot hole that just pissed off a lot of people. But overall, still a damn fun film and a great way to end 22 years of not years, films of, that's a big series they had to wrap up, and they did it really well. Yeah.
36. The Irishman. A Scorsese mobster film. Ran on for a very long time.
Almost even longer than Avengers Endgame,
Yes.
I believe.
Otherwise, very good film. Just very long.
Right. Speaking of Netflix films, number 35, Dolomite Is My Name. This was another film that probably should have been up for some Oscars that wasn't, but it was a very, very intriguing film. Eddie Murphy plays Rudy Ray Moore, a struggling musician and comedian who found a niche making ultra low budget blaxploitation films and became something of a hero in that genre as a result. And it's a very intriguing and fun movie.
Moving on. Klaus, number 35. Very touching Christmas film that got an animated feature nod this year about how Santa came to be. Another film that has become a holiday classic for future times.
Number 34, one of the Oscar documentary nominees that wasn't a film that I thought for sure was going to get it. A film called Maiden, about a group of young ladies who became the first all-female crew to do the Whitbread yachting race around the world, which is a certifiably insane course. And it's a very intriguing documentary that actually really gets you to root for them, and it's pretty interesting.
Alright, 34. Critters Attacks. This one is a well-done version of what Tremors 6 was trying to be. It does a good job of continuing the series and gives you that old-school, fun, slaughter time Critters feel.
Good times. Number 33. This is the last one I got to add to my list. I watched it last night. It's a movie by...
Yesterday.
Yes.
Yesterday.
Exactly. It's a movie called Yesterday. Very intriguing film from Danny Boyle, the director of Millions and 28 Days Later and Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours. Yesterday follows Himesh Patel as the character's name is Jack Malik, who, after a weird power outage that royally messes with the memories of everyone on Earth, he is the only one alive who remembers the Beatles. That they even existed. He's the only one who remembers this. And he's a struggling musician who can't get a gig. And his best friend / manager, played by Lily James, Ellie, is like his biggest supporter and fan. And he says he's going to give it up and then this miracle occurs, and he starts strumming Yesterday for his friends, and they're all like, that's the best song you've ever played. And he's like, y'all are having me. He gets pissed off. He thinks they're having him on. And he decides to build a career on the music of the Beatles. And it's a great, fun movie. It really is. And great soundtrack.
We need to keep moving. We're at the hour mark. 33, Ma. Very intriguing, very intense tale about a woman who stupid teens befriend because she gives them free alcohol. Unfortunately, she's after some revenge. And when it hits the fan, oh my god, it gets scary.
Number 32, the directorial debut of Olivia Wilde, Booksmart, about a couple of straight-A achievers, great achievers. Beanie Feldstein, Jonah Hill's sister, is one of them, and the other one is, I know I'm going to remember her name when we're done with this, and it's going to bother me, and it's really, But anyway, it's a great fun movie. It's kind of, you could think of it almost as sort of a female-centric Superbad, and you'd be in the right ballpark, you know. And it doesn't hurt that Beanie Feldstein looks like her brother, you know, because but it's a good fun movie.
32, Little Women. Oscar, did it win? Yeah, it won.
Yeah,
Oscar
design.
winner for costume design. Good adaptation of the novel. Unfortunately, the only version of the film I have seen yet. Still, very well done, very enjoyable.
All right. Number 31, Dolor y Gloria, or Pain and Glory, another Oscar nominee. Filmed by Pedro Almodovar, nominated for Antonio Banderas. He finally got some Oscar love. It's a really nice, simple, touching tale of a director is really debating his direction in life. That's pretty much the gist of it.
31, Hell House LLC 3. This follows in the Hell House series, which is a found footage film about a haunted hotel that kills everybody. It is a very interesting and intriguing series, and many parts are very scary. The third film continues this and does not disappoint.
Okay. Number 30, The Edge of Democracy. As he said, a very charged political drama, co-directed by someone who lived through these events. It is worth noting that. But I feel like it's almost too personal, which is one reason why it's as low as it is.
Number 30, Pain and Glory. What he said. Well acted, very much like Everybody Knows for me, except I like the characters. Therefore, it moved up much higher. I actually considered about even with the writing. So I would, but this one was a much more enjoyable piece and therefore much higher on my list.
Okay. Number 29, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. New Quentin Tarantino film. This is the first Best Picture nominee to show up on my list. You can see I liked him as a whole a little more than he did. But I still think this was a Tarantino light.
Yeah.
This was a weak film for him, and it did not deserve as much praise as it got.
Number 29, For We Are Many, the horror compilation. We were talking about those before. With one of those shorts, The Slaughtering Ground, being by Dane, one of our Inside Movies Galore alums. Just wanted to mention that. Excellent one. Some of these are legitimately scary, and for the budgets they're working with, they look professional. So therefore, if you haven't, see it. Very well done.
Okay. And I'll go ahead and mention, I think this is where I'm going to insert for Sama. But my official 28, so I guess 29 is for Sama.
Well, you can just say for Sama, and then we'll continue and we'll go back to the old thing. So why is for Sama there?
Okay. Well, okay. I just didn't want to throw the numbering off.
It will go back to the way it was before.
Well, at any rate, kind of like Edge of Democracy, it's a highly personal documentary, but this one is extremely so. The director is basically she's narrating the entire film to her child. basically. And this is about someone's experiences during the civil war in Syria. And that's really all there is to it. It's immensely powerful, but extremely hard to watch. I do not have the strongest stomach in the world, and much of the stuff takes place in a hospital. And you do see actual war footage that gets a bit grisly at times. So, worth knowing.
See, now once I get this, you can go to 28. We'll be back to the right order.
Go
again.
for it.
28. The Two Popes. Very good theology exercise. Well acted about the two main popes, Benedict and Cumberbatch. No. But the two popes essentially shows that transition from Benedict to Francis, right? Was it? And their conversation on theology, politics, and everything in between. It is an excellent film.
So my number 28 is Ford v Ferrari. Another Best Picture nominee.
Good one.
Ford v Ferrari gets as high as it does in part because I hate racing, and yet I love this film. And that takes some doing. And we've talked about it at length, how effective the editing and the sound was, so I'll just leave it at that. Great acting as well.
27. Oko's Inn. A delightful, childish tale about a young girl who gets her parents slaughtered and starts living at an inn because of that.
She doesn't get them slaughtered.
Thanks to the help of some friendly ghosts and a not abusive grandmother.
That's one way to put it. All right, number 27, Ying, aka Shadow, the new film from Zhang Yimou. Watch our pickup video for a more in-depth description. But stunningly gorgeous, let's just say that.
26, Toy Story 4. Well animated and good story. A solid film, even though I don't want to admit it. Retelling the same story in a different light has never been so good.
Good times. Number 26, Waka Okami wa Shogokusei, or Okozen. As I described it to him originally, it's kind of like Hanasako Iroha
Yes.
combined with Studio Ghibli, but with an art style that's more reminiscent of, say, Digimon. I mean, it is aimed at a more youthful audience, but it's aimed at a more youthful audience in the way a Pixar film is. I mean, it's not just for kids, but it was a very delightful film. It was a very effective tearjerker, actually, and I just enjoyed it immensely.
And I've got an auction on it now. Well, a bet on. 25, Missing Link.
Ah,
Great movie, winner of the Golden Globe. Up for the Oscar, but not the winner like Toy Story 4. Good story about an adventurer who finds an unlikely friend in a Bigfoot. Sasquatch, looking for his own place in the world.
all right.
By Studio Leica.
Number 25, Harriet. Biopic about Harriet Tubman. Featured Oscar-nominated portrayal by Cynthia Erivo, as well as an excellent song by her. Just solid all around. The production value solid all around. Portrayal of one that many people consider something of an American hero, and just well made for that kind of film, no doubt about it.
24, Ford v Ferrari. There's not much more to be said, but the editing is so good you feel like you're right in the driver's seat, and that's an amazing thing.
And they ought to take that race down Penguin Highway. Number 24, Penguin Highway. Weird-ass movie about kids and an older woman who has penguin power and is using it to try to stop some sort of catastrophe. And it's just really interesting and intriguing and nice animation and just a lot of fun. And penguins.
Number 23, Dolomite Is My Name, an excellent comedic performance by Eddie Murphy, harkening back to the 80s. Excellent soundtrack and a fun comedic gem.
Yep. Number 23, Jojo Rabbit, the new film from Taika Waititi, up for a lot of stuff. I believe it won Waititi the Screenplay Award, right? And it features a pretty badass performance from Sam Rockwell, of all the people in there. Scarlett Johansson was nice, and the main kid that plays what is his name? Well, anyway, the main kid was pretty awesome too, and especially his friend. His friend was hilarious. But Waititi is awesome. Everything he does is awesome. I look forward to more.
Number 22, Dragon Quest, Your Story. Watched it today. This one is a love letter to people who love the Dragon Quest series. And for people who are enjoying it and get to know it, it's not only well animated, well voice acted, it is a Dragon Quest game made into a movie. This to me is a video game movie done right.
Okay. The number 22, the film I believe that won the documentary feature, American Factory. Excellent film. Kind of hard to watch because you know that it's true. It's very interesting the way things happen when international ideas clash and don't mesh as well as they should. And business, well, it's never a pretty picture.
Lord business. 21, Penguin Highway. A delightful picture about how penguins can save the world.
Yes, they can. All right, 21, The Irishman. A film about how crotchety old gangsters can save the world.
In over 3 hours.
But honestly, it's a retrospective about pretty much the story of Jimmy Hoffa and the Teamsters and their relations to organized crime. And it does feature some excellent performances and some interesting visual effects work, and overall kind of overrated, but still pretty good.
Number 20, Batman Hush. A well-done adaptation of the Hush comic. As was stated before, they did make some changes, which was unfortunate. It would have been higher if they had left it alone.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, and I should have mentioned, one of the reasons it rated as low as it did is one of the only issues I have with the Batman animated series, and it has plagued every Batman production since. They never have fluid dialogue. You know what I mean? It always sounds so choppy.
Yeah.
And they need to work on their timing. You know, you watch your average anime and it just flows. You know, whatever.
Moving on.
Anyway, and actually I believe this was true of Klaus, which is another one I'm surprised is higher on my list. Number 20, Klaus. It really was a delightful movie. I enjoyed it. I started watching the opening credits, the opening scene when he is first banished to this place that he has been banished to. And I'm like, it's like a combination of like Nightmare Before Christmas and How to Train Your Dragon. Like, if you kind of roll them up into one, and I'm like, that's a good start for any movie.
Reminded me of Emperor's New Groove. Number 19, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. A well-done performance by Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers, and a delightful story about a reporter who has lost his way and must find his heart and his family again.
Number 19, Missing Link. As he said, but it is a surprisingly strong message about intolerance and being willing to accept others for who they are. Excellent voice work. Just well done. Leica, well done.
Number 18, Harriet. An excellent film about Harriet Tubman. It definitely pulled at my heartstrings quite a bit throughout, and was surprisingly high on my list.
Number 18. This is that anthology film that I had originally split. And I think it was actually my first film of the year. And that is the film that was originally released as Studio Punch short theater. Part 1, Modest Heroes, or Modest Heroes. It is the Studio Ponoch's follow-up to Mary and the Witch's Flower, and just like that one, it does feature a film by Hiroyuki Yonebayashi. I think I've got that right. And that's called Kanino and Kanini, and it's about two crab children in the stream, and it's great, and it's wonderful. But my favorite part of it is Life Ain't Gonna Lose, which was from a guy who worked with Isao Takahata, and it's about a kid dealing with crippling allergies. And then there's one called Invisible, about a dude who's invisible to society and becomes invisible as a result. Overall, wonderful film collection. It's hard to rate as one piece because it's three distinct films, but overall, great. I'm happy to put it 18.
17, Knives Out. Excellent whodunit. A film about a murder mystery taking place in a mansion owned by a mystery writer. Very fun, great performances, some against even type, which is very fun indeed. If you haven't watched it, check it out.
Number 17, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Tom Hanks is Fred Rogers. What more do you need to know? But it's very well done, very creative camera work, excellent direction from Marielle Heller. Good times.
16, Downton Abbey. Excellent film. The only thing that drags it back is it feels like another episode of the show. But that's not a bad thing because it was an excellent show. Wraps up some loose ends. Could have ended it, but no. It's starting a new beginning thanks to that.
It's intriguing to see which ones I thought would be high on your list that show up on mine at higher points. Like this one, number 16, The Two Popes. I really thought it was an excellent film. I mean, it wasn't just the acting. It was an excellent film.
Still in my top 30.
Very, very good one. Brilliant acting, especially from Jonathan Pryce. Fernando Mireles is one hell of a director, and it has a great soundtrack, too. Yeah.
Number 15, Avengers Endgame. Excellent love letter to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. To me, it was a good end cap. And may be an end cap at least to a portion of that universe.
And the N for cap is why it's so low on my list. But anyway, number 15, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. Excellent film, excellent end cap to that franchise, and I just love that series.
Number 14, Scariest Stories to Tell in the Dark. Excellent anthology film. Not familiar with the source material, but well put together, and kept me entertained the whole way through.
Number 14, a film that, against all logic, was not even submitted for Oscar. I don't know why. Kimi no Suizo o Tabetai. I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. Very interesting, intriguing film. The title does make sense if you watch it. And it's actually kind of a poignant meaning to the title if you watch it. But it's a beautiful film about a young man who's very taciturn, who is retreated from society, and the young lady who makes it her mission to make him join society.
Number 13, Camp Blood 8. An excellent reboot to the series. It probably didn't need to happen, yet at the same time, a combination of Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw Massacre that never looked so good.
You make me want to see it. So, number 13, the most lauded film of the year going into the Oscar night, Joker. Joker won a very well-deserved Best Actor Oscar. It is a very intriguing look at the origin of one of the most iconic villains in pop culture history. It is a look, not the look. But it is very intriguing, and it's also an intriguing love letter to 70s cinema, particularly Scorsese's. Very well worth watching. Not everyone's cup of tea by any means, but
Yes.
worth watching.
Number 12, the Banana Splits movie. I know, it's amazing how I'm putting these horror movies up there. But if you might have watched Dustin's channel, it's a very well done slasher film. Matter of fact, much more enjoyable than the entertaining Topic. So if you haven't, check it out. It is surprisingly good.
All right. Number 12, Marriage Story. What are your favorites? I actually really liked Marriage Story. Most of Noah Baumbach's films are difficult for me. I actually thought this was one of his more enjoyable ones I've seen. It's not a barrel of laughs by any means. Not at all. But it does feature some excellent acting, some excellent music. It's very well directed. Baumbach does have his finger on the pulse of family dysfunction, and you definitely see that in this film. And it's interesting.
Number 11, Lego Movie 2, the second part. One of my favorite films of the year, and one of my favorite animated films of the year. Not Evil is certainly robbed from getting a Best Song nod. And just as fun as the first, in my opinion.
And even more, Rob, because they put Catchy Song on the short list and not Evil.
Moving on.
Anyway, number 11, J'ai perdu mon corps, or I Lost My Body. One of the most original films of the year. I gotta say, it was an original film. And one of the most original romance stories I've ever seen. Not my favorite, but it really stuck with me, which is one of the reasons why it's as high on the list as it is.
You know, you reminded me of one. I'm going to have to put that one on the lower level. I haven't decided yet, but it is definitely below where we were.
Really?
I'll talk to you where it was. But in any case, number 10, and now we're getting into our top 10, so we'll expand a little bit more.
Okay.
But since we've been going on and we're getting to the point where we need to leave, we're going to have to keep moving at a fairly rapid pace. Joker. Joker was one I really liked. It was well done. I thought that it was a well acted, well scored, good makeup, king of comedy, Taxi Driver, all in one.
I still need to see
I want to see this grouping take the Joker and just keep making Joker origin stories, because, as he says, he would prefer his origin to be multiple choice.
Exactly. All right. Or maybe they could do a thing in the DCEU where they point out that Jared Leto was a pretender and there was really a better Joker in that one. Anyway.
Well, any case, I'm not going to spoil it, but Apollo might. But one of yours is going below. Your next one is going below this, so I don't know where I put it, but it's...
So... I'll start my top 10 with my highest ranked documentary of the year, one that I thoroughly was shocked did not get an Oscar nod, and that was the film Apollo 11. We have talked about this a little bit on this channel, and to be honest, there's not much more I have to say, so I don't know why I decided to go right now to go upstairs. But anyway, but Apollo 11 is essentially, they took found footage that they had made at the time, footage from telecasts, from radio casts, and they put it all together into one coherent piece that really does make you feel like you are there watching the events, even though they took place 50 years ago. It's very much a you are there, and that was why it rated as high as it did. I was really impressed that they made me feel like I was there and I cared, because that was not an easy thing.
Oh yeah, well done, just not my top 10.
Yeah.
Number 9, In Search of Darkness, another documentary about the wonders of 80s horror. It is a thorough documentary, and one that was done with loving precision. Somebody who truly, by people who truly love the 80s and the films that were produced.
Okay. Number 9, Makoto Shinkai's Weathering with You. I did not give you the Japanese title because I watched it in English, so I can only count it that way. But Weathering with You is his pseudo follow-up to Your Name. It actually does feature a cameo from one of the main characters, so you know it's set in the same universe. It's a very intriguing film about a Japan that has been deluged in rain for a long time. And a young man finds a sunshine girl, and things happen from there. And beautiful, beautiful, beautiful film. Excellent use of music. The things you expect from Shinkai's work, as well as an obsession with loss and loneliness and that sort of thing. Everything you expect from Shinkai's work, but not quite as good as Your Name.
Number 8, American Factory. As somebody who grew up with a union family, there is nothing more important than looking at how workers need to be united, and this movie does its best to show this. But it's a movie that can also be watched by people who are anti-union as well, and therein is the genius in this film, is how it can appeal to both sides of the coin.
Alright, number 8, Toy Story 4. It is a wonderful film. It did retread a little bit in some of the previous territory, but I really felt like this one had its own story to tell, and it did step out on its own. And it brought in some great supporting characters. The addition of Key and Peele and even Keanu Reeves really added a lot to the film, and I just enjoyed it a lot. And I thought it was quite good.
Number 7, Parasite. One of the best picture winner, surprise as it was. An excellent story about some individuals who take advantage of a wealthy family by inserting themselves into the group's lives. It is a beautiful picture when it comes to the out-of-touch nature of the upper classes. A very worthy watch, and a very worthy winner of Best Picture.
Alright, number 7, Downton Abbey. Another one I am utterly shocked was this much higher on my list, as much as you've gone on about that. Like I said, utterly robbed of costume and production design Oscars. It is a wonderful film. It does feel like one of the specials, but it's well done. It feels like they took to heart the criticisms of the last couple seasons. They tried their best to put their best foot forward, and I think they really did. And it was a impressive film that I just enjoyed thoroughly. And well, in the end, that's what the top 10 should mostly be, is the ones you really enjoyed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Number 6, The Great Hack. This was an excellent
I meant to
film,
watch this.
and one that should have been up for Best Documentary Feature, which displays how a group's mind can be manipulated to the point of changing the direction of an entire country. This is a scary documentary, and it needs to be scary because it's happening, and it's happening today. And because of that, it needs to be high on the list.
We seem to have a little mini theme going of the films that were just completely robbed by Oscar, because number 6 on my list is The Farewell, film by Lulu Wang about her own experiences with her family. Her grandmother is dying of cancer, and the family refuses to let the grandmother know what's happening. And the surrogate character for Wang is played by Awkwafina, who surprises her family by showing up in China. The idea is her cousin is getting married to this Japanese girl that no one's ever met except for their parents, and that's the precept to bring the whole family in. Z Ma plays the father, and he does a great job. I cannot remember the name of the actress who plays the grandmother, but she does a phenomenal job. Overall, it's a wonderful film, very delightful, wonderful about, I mentioned family dysfunction a couple films ago. This is an excellent display of the slightly more positive way of looking at it. And just it was robbed on so many levels.
Number 5, The Dark Days of Demetrius. This one is a film done by Dakota Ray, a very good director who does very dark pieces. This is a piece about a killer and the innards of the mind. To me, this is a very interesting look into narcissism and many things elsewise. The depth of the messages is palpable, and the intensity of the acting is incredible. Though this film does not make me feel good, it most assuredly makes me want to watch it again.
All right, number 5, we have Greta Gerwig's Little Women, which wonderful film, excellent writing, direction, acting, wonderful performance from Saoirse Ronan and another one from Florence Pugh. Excellent performances all around. Costume design, of course, Oscar-winning costume design. After Lady Bird, I had high hopes for the next project from Gerwig, and this one doesn't quite hit me the way Lady Bird did, but I'm looking forward to more stuff from her, because she has hit 2 of them out of the park at 2 tries.
Yeah.
Good record there. Yep.
Number 4, Jojo Rabbit.
Ah.
I can't really say much. You did a pretty good exposition of it beforehand, though his special friend, Adolf, is most assuredly the one who steals the show at the for that movie.
Tries to, at any rate.
And like I said, he said pretty much all there is to say about it. It's one I really enjoyed, surprisingly.
All right. So I was surprised I didn't like it more than I did, but I still liked it a lot. So I have a ranking system where 4 stars is they qualify for Oscar level, but they should not win. There were 4 films that I rated that if they had won Best Picture, I would have been happy. And, of course, we are now at number 4, Sam Mendes' 1917. Excellent film. Truly, the so-called gimmick of it being a one-shot, really more of a 2-shot film, you could look at it as gimmicky. You could say the film hangs on that, but it was an effective trick. It was so effective.
Oh, yes.
And the film overall, it had wonderful music, phenomenal acting, just absolutely phenomenal acting. You wouldn't have got the feels that you get in the final scene if it weren't for the acting. I mean, that's just, and that's really all I gotta say on that. Just a kick-ass film, one of the best war films I've seen, really.
Number 3 for me, Bombshell. The political message actually is what boosted it forward for me. This was a Fox News feature talking about Fox News and about the Roger Ailes building of the great monolith that it is, as well as his fall from grace. Extremely well acted, amazing makeup. This was a powerful film that spoke to me on many levels.
All right. Number 3, Todos Lo Saben, a.k.a. Everybody Knows. A film that sank without a trace after its release, and I think you probably are glad it did, but I thought it was awesome. Asghar Farhadi's debut outside of the Iranian language. He made a Spanish film. Excellent performances all around. Excellent plotting. I thought it was very effective thriller. The characters were borderline likable at best in most cases, but to me that was less important. It was very much a plot-driven film, and one of the rare examples of one where I did not hold that against the film. Just the execution and the decidedly non-Hollywood ending. Again, endings are big for me,
And the ending drove it down for me. So, number 2, 1917, an exquisite World War I film, which I felt would be fine if it had won Best Picture. I actually liked it better than I liked Parasite. But at the same time, I was perfectly fine with Parasite winning because I wanted it to win.
Right.
So, otherwise though, 1917, to me, would have been the winner in any other given day.
Right. So, number 2, Knives Out. This was one that was utterly robbed at the Oscars. It won nomination. Ana de Armas at the very least, and Ryan Johnson. Anyway, like he said, I mean, he pretty much covered most of it. Very well crafted whodunit. Very well acted. Very well put together. Ryan Johnson is a skilled director, whatever you haters might like to say. And he's I don't think he's done better than this one, so I look forward to seeing more of Benoit Blanc and more just in general from Johnson's further output. But I just enjoyed it. In terms of like a film that I just enjoyed from start to finish, this was one of the best ones of the year for me.
Well, my favorite film of the year is Rocket Man. This, of course, had one of the best performances of the year. I felt, I can't say his name.
Taron Egerton.
I felt like he was robbed at least
was.
of a nomination.
He was.
And this bothered me considerably. But, at the same time, it was well acted. Oops, sorry. Well acted. The music was amazing. And once I got over the first hiccup at the beginning, it drew me in incredibly. And that takes a lot. And when you get a film that does that, it just it amazes me. I almost like it as much as I liked Across the Universe, and that's saying something because that is my favorite film of all time. So for that reason, I have to give Rocket Man my number 1 pick.
I'm not 100% sure how close to the top of my all-time list this year got, but I would say all 4 of these top 4 are at least, pretty high up there.
Yeah.
And, of course, my number 1 is Gisangtung, or Parasite, which I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. I have trouble finding anything to nitpick about the film. It goes a little crazy toward the end, and some of the things that happened I really didn't like, but I thought they worked narratively, but honestly everything going to crap at the end hinged on the family of con artists making a colossally stupid mistake, and that was unfortunate. But I'm not going to say anything more than that because I don't want to give it away. But it's beautifully shot, beautifully put together film, wonderful editing, production design, both Oscar nominated, phenomenal Oscar gypped acting, history making film on multiple levels, and I am very excited about that. And I want to see more of this director's work post haste. I've been dragging my feet, but I'm sitting on a copy of Snowpiercer to watch probably in the next week or so.
Now, you won't like it as much as you like Parasite.
Probably not, but I will like it, I'm sure. I want to see a lot of these. But anyway.
That roach scene.
Oh, lovely. That sounds lovely. So yeah, that's my list, and I guess that's your list, right?
Yep. I put Apollo 11 right underneath Little Women.
Okay, so it was down there a little bit, but it was up, cool. And I'll admit, it's interesting, I thought we'd have a little more overlap here, but you watch a lot of weird-ass stuff, so I guess... And I seriously, there is not enough time in the day. I'm sitting on a copy of Secret Life of Pets 2. I'm sitting on a copy of The Professor and the Madman. I was going to watch The Great Hack and The Biggest Little Farm and just couldn't get to them in time. But
Yeah.
but by the time we get around to 2019 again, I will have a much longer list to play with. But
Well, with that
Right.
being said, we wish you well, and
Yep.
thank you for sitting with us for this long time in review
yeah,
of a year. That's been fun. I've already got 2 on my 2020. You've got more than that.
4.
Yeah.
Yes, and yes, thank you for joining us for this one. Is it next week that we'll have another long ass video?
Yeah, next week is going to be NIS.
As promised many
Many
times in
months
the past.
ago. Just a few months late.
Just a few months late, and I still haven't gotten through it all, but I've gone through a lot. We'll
I'm
see.
going to pull a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in any case, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.
Yes.
Goodbye.